Hello, I'm Trevor Alonzo, and this is my non-spoiler review of Ghostbusters Afterlife, the third Ghostbusters movie, not including the standalone 2016 reboot. I will have a spoiler review coming out soon. I'll go into more detail in that one. Ghostbusters Afterlife tells the story of Callie, played by Carrie Coon, a divorced mother of two. Her two kids, Trevor, played by Finn Wolfhard, and Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace, finally somebody named Trevor in a Ghostbusters movie, have recently gone bankrupt and just inherited a rundown farmhouse from her estranged father. As they are forced to move in, the kids make friends, one named Podcast, played by Logan Kim, and another named Lucky, played by Castiel O'Connor. As the movie goes on, Phoebe begins to find out her grandfather was more than what she was told. With the help of podcasts and her teacher Gary Gooberson, played by Paul Rudd, Phoebe learns that her grandfather was a Ghostbuster. At the same time, supernatural forces have started to rise in the town. Okay, this movie was delayed 4 times due to the pandemic. In case you didn't know, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. I thought the movie was really good. This is finally the sequel that we've been waiting for. It is a different tone than the first 2 movies, but that's not a bad thing. And I'm really glad it didn't have the same beats as the first 2 movies either, which you really noticed that they did for part 2 and the reboot. This movie does have the feel of an 80s kids adventure movie, like The Goonies, where the movie mainly follows kids, and they have to stand up and take charge. The acting in this movie is great. No one is bad in this. There were a few instances where I thought they could have used a comedy a little bit different or a little bit more here and there, but it wasn't enough to take away from it. I thought everyone was well casted. McKenna Grace as Phoebe does stand out more, and she really shines in this movie, and she really pulls off the character. I'll get into that into the spoiler review. The music in this movie is a great choice to go with the classic score, redone by Rob Simonson. It was great as a fan to hear the old score during the movie. I'll compare it to the Godzilla movies whenever they use the original score, and you think to yourself, that's the perfect theme, that's the original theme. Or kind of when you're watching an Avengers movie and you hear that Avengers theme, and you're like, okay, that really brings it out. It just adds more feel to the movie. And they could have used some of the score from Ghostbusters 2, but they didn't. And of course, the song by Ray Parker Jr. is played in this, and they use it just right. The special effects in this movie look amazing. It doesn't look like bad CGI, which is a little bit of a problem that I had with the 2016 movie. With that one, I felt like there was a lot of CGI that looked a little too cartoony or a little too exact copy for every ghost. Like every ghost in that movie was a blue, especially near the end. They did use practical effects in this, like the original. You can really see that with the terror dogs. But it wasn't enough to be like, oh, that's a big puppet. It just felt like, oh, that's physically there. Again, practical effects is something that was really missed in the 2016 movie. I always think that practical effects help the movie. Jason Reitman, the director, did say that with all the delays, they used the time to their advantage. They went over the effects, went over editing, they really polished the movie. Unlike the first Ghostbusters, which had almost no time, but they still pulled off the effects in that movie. I really do believe that if this movie doesn't get nominated for Best Effects or Best Special Effects, I'll be really surprised. Taking over the director duties for this movie is Jason Reitman, who I mentioned before. He is the son of the original director Ivan Reitman. Ivan Reitman does serve as a producer on this film. Now, it might be a little bit daunting to direct a sequel to a movie that your dad made, but Jason Reitman does a fantastic job at it. And Jason Reitman was there from the beginning, always on set, with his father. And he has joked that he could be considered the first Ghostbusters fan, which is probably true. He did see everything before anybody else. And from interviews for this movie and watching this movie, you can clearly see he's a Ghostbusters fan. Now, this movie does have a lot of fan service. Of course, with a huge franchise like this, it's gonna happen. I have heard some people complain about it, I don't think it was bad in this movie. I just thought it was a lot of showing more of the Ghostbusters mythology. I do wonder if they felt pressure from the 2016 movie and how fans reacted to that one, if they had to put more into this. I do like how this movie also feels like a horror movie. Not too much to keep your kids away, but just the right amount to make it scary at times, or make it really creepy. It is a movie about ghosts after all. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. It has a few flaws, but not enough to hate it. It does feel good to have a great Ghostbusters movie again. I give this movie a 10 out of 10 proton packs. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, you'll love this. If you're a fan of kids' adventure movies, you'll love this. This really is a great movie for the whole family. Go check it out. Like I said before, I'll go into more detail in my spoiler review, which will be out soon. I really didn't want to give away anything on this. Thank you for watching my video.